G'day guys, Christopher here, and you get to see my face in this voiceover this time. Let me know if you enjoyed that or prefer it down in the comments below. And if you would rather not see my face, I don't blame you at all, so you can let me know that you'd prefer to just see the art, that's fine. Today I'm continuing my animal alphabet art series. It's quite a mouthful, and I'm up to the letter I. I've received my first Aussie animal, an Australian ibis. Or Australian white ibis. I think there are a whole bunch of ibis species, but this is the one that I'm familiar with, so I was cool to have gotten and received this one. It's from the eastern coast mostly of Australia and maybe some other parts of Australia, and it's really common in especially urban areas and even our cities. And they're quite a large bird, up to 0.5 meter or 3 feet or a bit above 3 feet. And that's because they love waterways, and many of our cities and urban areas are built around river systems and waterways. And I find that they're a beautiful bird, but many people do not like them or are even afraid of them because they'll come up and try to snatch food out of your hand with their large, long beaks, or dive into rubbish bins or trash cans to grab food out of there. And so they have the unfortunate names or slang names of trash turkeys, or very commonly from where I'm from, bin chickens. And so I felt really bad for them, and I love these birds, so I wanted to class them up a little bit, and I've done that by giving them some evening wear. And for the girl bird, a jewel pearl necklace and some gold and silver feathers, ironically. I don't know where she got those from. It's a little bit concerning if she's a bird. And a fascinator hat with a veil. I guess the feathers are part of the fascinator hat too. And for the male, a top hat and a large tie that he's sporting on his way to an evening ball somewhere. Same for her, I guess. And so to keep with this evening theme, I've done most of this piece in black and whites with, you probably guessed it, gold and silver metallic accents using my new materials that I love so much, the Amsterdam acrylic markers, and I've received the triple pack of pale gold, deep gold, and silver. And so I'm using the pale gold and the silver now to give it some pop. And I really love how this piece turned out, actually. I think this is the sort of style for quick drawings I'm now starting to think I might lean towards doing more of and exploring more. I know because I'm a few animals ahead that things have already changed and I've explored things a little bit more. But looking back, I really quite like this one. And so maybe for some of the last letters of the alphabet, I will try to do more of this sort of style. And I also begin to play with the idea of a background a little bit by putting in some sparkling stars. And I do those with a gel pen, a Signo Broad gel pen. Oh, mostly the Pilot Juice pen in white. I always forget what materials that I use, even though you can see it written down here. That's editing Chris, not voiceover Chris, so I don't know what's happening half the time. And I make a few mistakes with that, but luckily I can cover it over with the black marker. And I also use a gold Signo and a silvery glitter Signo, which are so awesome. If you've only tried the Signo Broad in white, I really recommend trying out more of their gel pens, particularly the metallics, because they're so shiny and lovely. And so that's it for the letter I for ibis. And then we move on to the letter J. And this is where my Sketchbox materials finally come into play. This is the day that I actually received the Sketchbox and I did that other video. Actually, this is the Sketchbox grab bag, I should say. And so I'm starting with the Tombow recycled pencil in pink or peach, depending on how you translate it, because it's called Momoiro, which means both in Japanese. And here you might be able to guess that I'm drawing a jackal. So congratulations to, let me check, Angie Hewitt's Art Room and Faye Wolf for both guessing correctly. That's awesome. Great job, guys. But in a way, you might only be half right because Google did something really weird this day. It gave me the word jackal, and then I chose a striped jackal species, but it also showed me a picture of a completely different animal. And so I decided to draw both. I didn't know what to do. And so I'm starting off by sketching out the outlines here for a jabiru. If you don't know what a jabiru is, it's also a very large bird, like in the letter I, but this one's from South America. It's a large bird that looks in some ways initially a little bit similar to the ibis, but then its beak isn't as curved, it's a larger beak, and it has this reddish, deep reddish throat, or this coloration that's really strikingly different. I've never seen one in person, so I don't really know what they're like, but I think I was really lucky to get these two animals, not only because I got to explore two animals, but the materials that I received in the Sketchbox grab bag just worked really beautifully for these two animals. The colors were almost perfect. Like if I could have chosen any colors and any materials, I think I would have chosen colors and materials close to these to bring them to life, or to try to bring them to life. So I just feel like I got really, really lucky. The only thing that's slightly off, I feel, is the throat of the jabiru is a bright red, and I didn't have a bright red in my materials. The closest I had was the Marvie Le Plume in the kind of brightish pink, and pinkish color from the Tombow Jewel pens. And so I combined them and put them together. But in terms of the composition and the color theory for this piece, I probably would have gone with that. The red would have been a little bit too weird in a piece that ends up very pinkish and earth tones and skin tones, really. That's the bulk of this, the Tombow Jewel pens and the skin tones. And so I also am able to put in details with the soft pastel, the Koh-i-Noor soft pastel, and I love the texture that created, particularly for the legs of the jabiru, its bill, and some fur areas of the jackal. So that was a lot of fun. Nerve-wracking too. I hadn't used these materials before, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and so I had to figure it all out and try to get them to combine well. And the paper's not the best paper, so I didn't want to add too much water because the paper would buckle. So there was a lot of tense moments, or like moments where I just wasn't certain about how things were going to go, but I just tried to keep in mind, this is a sketchbook. It can be a place to explore and play. And if something goes terribly wrong, it goes terribly wrong. That's just what happens, right? So I feel like I struggled more with the jackal, to be honest. I probably thought that I might. I figured maybe I could draw fur well if I had more time, but I'm trying to be quick with these sketches as well. And so I'm trying to get it to look like it's a furry, dog-like, wolfy type jackal thing without it taking forever to build up that texture of the fur. And I think I do okay. I feel like the jabiru looks better. It looks more semi-realistic. I don't really know what this style is. It's semi-realism, I guess, somewhere between cartoony and realistic. But I feel like, especially because of the dark brown tone, or the deeper tones, or the deeper skin tones, I think they're called skin tones, or skin palette, something like that, that the jackal's able to come together pretty well. And same for the jabiru. There's some really dark areas like the head feathers. So I just got really lucky that there's some darker skin tones included. I know in bygone days, you would often get a skin tone set and there would all just be pale colors. So awesome that Tombow has included those darker tones. And then I wasn't sure what to do for the background. I tried using the Marvie Le Plume marker, and then I began to wish that it had a chisel tip, because I find that that's easier to get smooth areas that are large. And I had to go over the area like 2 or 3 times before I was happy with it. But then I decide to kind of cover all that up in a second by breaking out the pearl white watercolor. I forget exactly what it's called. You can go back to my previous Sketchbox grab bag unboxing, but you can see it there. And this watercolor pearl white is so lovely, but again, it's kind of the same problem. When you're spreading it out on a wide area, it looks really uneven and really splotchy, and I began to think that I'd ruin the whole thing once again. I have a lot of those moments as an artist, especially when I'm trying out new things. But when I added a second layer, it really evened out really well, I think, on this paper. And the paper was initially crinkly and really warped, but it settled down a little bit. And I ended up with this really beautiful pearl luster with the pink of the alcohol marker shining through faintly and giving a really soft, cool, pearl pinkish background to it. It's a little bit plain. Maybe I should have drawn like a desert background or a mountain range or something and done just the sky part in the pearl pink. But live and learn, and I'll begin to explore backgrounds a little bit more as I move on through this series. I probably am getting a little bit carried away with things when they're meant to just be quick sketches focusing on an animal, but I just can't help myself. I end up trying to make them look finished pieces. But overall, pretty happy with how things go. And don't forget to guess for the next letters for K and L, what you think that I'll be drawing next. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Bye.